Imagine you're standing at a crossroads. On one side, there's a runner, sneakers pounding the pavement, heart racing, gasping for air, burning through everything the body has just to keep moving. On the other side, there's someone walking, calm, steady, breathing easy, feet moving at a quiet, unhurried pace. Now here's the question your brain doesn't want to let go of. Which one of these two people is actually burning more belly fat? If your gut said the runner, hold that thought. Because what's happening inside the body during these two activities is so different, so layered, and so quietly intelligent that once you understand it, you may never look at a walk the same way again. This is where things get interesting. Because belly fat, that deep, stubborn fat that wraps around your organs, doesn't respond the way we've been told. Doesn't melt because you push harder. Doesn't surrender because you sprint faster. Responds to something much more specific. And walking, done right, hits that specific trigger in a way that running, surprisingly, often misses. Most people never hear this part. So let's go inside the body together, slowly, curiously, and find out exactly what's happening when you walk with intention. Not just any walk. 3 very particular rules that change everything about how your body decides to burn its stored fat, especially the fat it holds closest to your core. Subscribe if you enjoy understanding what's actually happening inside your body. Let's begin. Behind the scenes of every single step you take, your body is doing something remarkable. It's calculating, it's deciding, it's choosing its fuel. Think of your body like a very sophisticated power plant. At any given moment, it has 2 main energy sources available: sugar, stored as glycogen in your muscles and liver, and fat, stored in cells all throughout your body, including that deep, visceral fat around your belly. The power plant doesn't use both equally at all times. It switches between them based on very specific signals: your heart rate, your oxygen levels, how long you've been moving, and even what you ate a few hours ago. Here's the surprising part that most fitness content skips entirely. When you exercise too intensely, your body defaults almost entirely to burning sugar. Not fat, sugar. It's faster. It's more accessible. And when you're running hard, your body needs energy now. It doesn't have time to unlock and process fat. So it reaches for the quick fuel. Walking changes that equation completely. At a moderate, comfortable walking pace, especially one where you can still hold a conversation but feel slightly warm, your body shifts into what scientists call the fat oxidation zone. In this zone, up to 60% of the calories your body burns come directly from fat. Not sugar, fat. And here's the detail that matters most. A significant portion of that fat comes from visceral fat, and the deep belly fat, again, because the body prioritizes it during sustained, low-intensity aerobic activity. One study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology found that fat oxidation rates peak at moderate exercise intensities, roughly 45 to 65% of your maximum heart rate. That's a walking pace, not a running pace. When intensity goes higher, fat oxidation actually drops. The body panics and reaches for sugar instead. So rule number 1 isn't about distance. It isn't about speed. It's about pace. Rule 1. Walk at the fat-burning tempo. The pace where your body prefers fat as its fuel. This means walking at a speed where you feel warm, your breathing is slightly elevated, but you're not gasping. You could speak a full sentence, but you wouldn't want to give a long speech. Fitness science calls this Zone 2, a heart rate between roughly 60 and 70% of your maximum. For most people, that means a brisk but comfortable walk, not a stroll, not a sprint. Something right in the middle, the sweet spot where your fat cells open up like a slow, steady valve. This is your body being cooperative. It's not making things difficult. It's actually preferring fat when you give it the right conditions. Now let's talk about the timeline of what happens inside your body when you start walking at this pace, because it doesn't happen instantly, and understanding the phases changes how you approach every single walk. Phase 1, the first 5 to 8 minutes. In the early minutes of your walk, your body is still warming up. It's bridging the gap between rest and movement, and it's primarily using glycogen, the sugar stored in your muscles. Think of this like a car engine warming up. It's not running at full efficiency yet, it's just getting ready. During this phase, very little fat is being burned. This is completely normal. Your body isn't being stubborn. It's being smart. It's using the fastest available fuel while it prepares its fat-burning machinery. Phase 2, minutes 8 through 20. Something quiet shifts here. Your oxygen delivery starts to stabilize. Your muscles are warm. Your breathing has found its rhythm. And now, this is the part that's rarely explained. Your body begins activating an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase, or LPL. Think of LPL as the key that unlocks your fat cells. It breaks down stored fat into free fatty acids, which your muscles can then use as fuel. The longer you stay in this zone, the more LPL gets activated and the more fat pours into your bloodstream as usable energy. This is your metabolism quietly shifting gears. No alarm, no drama, just your body doing exactly what it was designed to do. Phase 3, 20 minutes and beyond. Now your fat-burning engine is fully online, babasen. The proportion of fat being burned continues to climb. Your body has found its groove. And here's where the belly fat story gets personal. Because as you sustain this moderate aerobic effort, your body starts pulling from visceral fat reserves. Why? Because visceral fat, unlike subcutaneous fat under the skin, is metabolically active. It has more receptors for the hormones that signal fat release. When your body needs sustained fuel at this moderate pace, visceral fat becomes a preferred source. This is why duration matters more than intensity when it comes to belly fat specifically. A 40-minute walk at the right pace does something a 15-minute run simply cannot replicate. It keeps you in that fat oxidation window long enough for your body to reach into its deeper stores. Stay with me, because the next 2 rules build directly on this, and together they form something your biology has been waiting for you to understand. Let's pause here for a moment and make this really clear, because this concept, the idea that lower intensity burns more fat, can feel almost too good to be true. Our culture has told us for decades that harder is better, that sweat is progress, that if you're not breathless, you're not working. So it can feel strange to hear that a calm, easy walk might be doing more for your belly fat than an intense sprint session. Here's a simple way to think about it. Imagine your body's energy system is like a kitchen with 2 different stoves. One stove runs on quick-burning paper, that's your glycogen, your sugar fuel. It ignites instantly and burns hot and fast. The other stove runs on slow-burning logs, that's your fat. It takes longer to get going, burns more steadily, and produces far more total heat over time. When you move fast and hard, your body grabs the paper. When you move at a calm, sustained pace, walking, your body lights the logs. And once the logs are burning, they keep burning, even as you cool down, even in the hours after your walk. This is called the fat oxidation afterburn. And it's one of the most underappreciated benefits of walking at the right intensity. It's not dramatic, it doesn't feel like much. But quietly, consistently, your metabolism keeps pulling from fat stores for hours after a properly paced walk ends. Now, Rule 2, and this one might genuinely surprise you. Rule 2, walk within 30 minutes after eating. This isn't something most walking advice covers. But the research behind it is fascinating, and once you understand what your body is doing after a meal, the logic becomes clear. When you eat, especially a meal with carbohydrates, your blood sugar rises. Your pancreas releases insulin, which is the hormone that moves sugar out of the blood and into cells for storage or use. If you sit down after eating, that insulin does its job, but slowly, and the elevated blood sugar lingers. Excess sugar that can't be immediately used gets converted and stored as fat. But here's what changes when you walk after eating. Your muscles become like a sponge. They absorb glucose directly, almost bypassing the need for large amounts of insulin. A 2022 study published in Sports Medicine found that even a gentle 10-minute walk after a meal reduced post-meal blood sugar spikes by up to 30%. That's not a small number. That's your body using the food you just ate as immediate walking fuel instead of converting it to fat. Think of it this way. Your meal just became your fuel instead of your storage. But there's more. Walking after eating also gently activates the digestive system, stimulating something called the migrating motor complex, which is essentially your gut's internal cleaning and transit crew. It reduces bloating, improves nutrient absorption, and signals your body that energy is being used, not hoarded. Your metabolism interprets this as an active moment, not a sedentary storage window. You don't need to power walk after dinner. You don't need a structured route. Even a slow, relaxed 15-minute walk around the block, done consistently after meals, creates a fundamentally different metabolic environment in your body. One that is less inclined to store belly fat and more inclined to use what you just consumed. The key word here is consistently, not perfectly, consistently. Now let's explore Rule 3, which is the one that ties everything together. Rule 3, walk longer, not harder. This might be the most powerful shift in thinking this video offers, because most people, when they decide they want to lose weight, make the walk harder. They add hills, they speed up, they swing weights in their hands. And while those things have their own merit, they actually pull your body out of the fat-burning zone and push it back toward sugar burning. Your body is extraordinarily smart about this. It has a system of signals that constantly monitors your oxygen consumption, your heart rate, your muscle demand, and it adjusts fuel selection accordingly. The moment you push into higher intensity, it begins shutting the fat oxidation door and opening the glycogen door. Not because it's failing you, but because it's protecting you. It's giving you the fastest fuel available for the increased demand. So instead of walking harder, walk longer. Here's what the science shows. A study from the University of Virginia found that women who did 3 shorter, high-intensity walks per week, plus 2 longer, moderate-paced walks, lost significantly more visceral belly fat than those who only did intense exercise. The longer, slower walks were specifically responsible for the visceral fat reduction, not the intense ones. Duration at moderate pace is the key that unlocks belly fat, specifically because visceral fat responds best to sustained low-demand aerobic activity. It needs time. It needs consistency. It needs the right hormonal environment that only emerges when you're comfortably moving, breathing steadily, and staying in motion long enough for your fat-burning enzymes to fully activate. What does longer mean in practice? Ideally, you want to work toward walks of 40 to 60 minutes, 3 to 5 times per week. But don't let that number intimidate you, especially if you're starting from shorter walks. Even adding 10 minutes to what you already do begins shifting the equation. The goal is simply to stay in that fat oxidation zone long enough for your body to dip into its deeper reserves. And here's something reassuring. You don't have to do it all at once. Research has shown that 2 30-minute walks within the same day produce similar fat-burning benefits to one 60-minute walk. Your body accumulates the metabolic effect across the day. So if life is busy, split it. Morning and evening, both count. What's actually happening is a beautiful coordination between your muscles, your hormones, your fat cells, and your metabolism. All of them responding to the gentle, sustained signal that you are in motion. Not in panic, not in overdrive, just steadily, calmly, purposefully moving through the world. And inside your belly, deep in that visceral fat tissue, lipase enzymes are quietly unlocking fat cells. Free fatty acids are floating into your bloodstream. Your muscles are pulling them in and burning them clean. This is happening right now with every properly paced step you take. Let's bring all 3 rules together now and see them as a single, unified message your body has been trying to send you, not through pain or exhaustion, but through something much quieter. Rule 1. Walk at the fat-burning tempo. Zone 2, brisk but conversational. So your body chooses fat as its fuel instead of defaulting to sugar. Rule 2. Walk within 30 minutes after eating, so your muscles absorb blood sugar directly, lowering insulin, reducing fat storage, and turning your meal into movement fuel rather than belly padding. Rule 3. Walk longer, not harder, because duration in the fat oxidation zone is what unlocks visceral fat specifically, and your body needs sustained, comfortable effort to dip into those deep reserves. 3 rules. 1 consistent walk. A body that is quietly, intelligently doing exactly what it was designed to do. Now let's look at what real science has been uncovering about this. Because the research in the last decade has genuinely shifted how exercise physiologists think about walking and fat loss. For a long time, the prevailing belief was simple: burn more calories, lose more weight. Running burns more calories per minute than walking. That much is true, so the assumption was that running was superior for fat loss. End of story. But that belief overlooked something crucial: where the calories come from. When you run at high intensity, the calorie burn is high, but the fat fraction is low. You might burn 400 calories in a 30-minute run, but only 30 to 35% of those come from fat. The rest come from glycogen. In contrast, during a 45-minute moderate-paced walk, you might burn 250 calories total, but 55 to 65% of those come directly from fat. That's more actual fat burned, even from a lower total calorie number. A landmark study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition followed participants over 12 weeks and found that those who walked consistently at moderate pace lost more visceral fat than those who engaged in shorter, high-intensity exercise, even though the walkers burned fewer total calories. The conclusion? For belly fat specifically, fat burning efficiency matters more than total calorie output. There's also a fascinating hormonal angle that's rarely discussed. High-intensity exercise, sprinting, HIIT, intense cardio, elevates cortisol significantly. Cortisol is your body's primary stress hormone, and while it serves important functions, chronically elevated cortisol has one particularly unwelcome effect. It promotes visceral fat storage. Your body, under stress, interprets the cortisol signal as a survival situation and begins hoarding fat around the organs as an emergency reserve. This is your body being protective, not broken. But it does mean that relentless high-intensity training without adequate recovery can actually work against belly fat reduction over time. Walking, by contrast, has been shown in multiple studies to lower cortisol. It activates the parasympathetic nervous system, the rest and digest mode, which signals to your body that it is safe, that resources are available, that there is no emergency. In that calm hormonal environment, your body releases stored fat more freely, and your belly, the repository of stress-related fat, begins to soften. This is where the 3 rules become not just a fitness strategy, but almost a conversation with your own biology. You're not forcing the body to change. You're creating the exact environment in which change happens naturally. You're speaking the body's language, the language of sustained, gentle, consistent movement, and the body is responding with everything it has. Now, a gentle note on listening to your body, because this matters. If you have any cardiovascular conditions, joint issues, or metabolic health concerns, always speak with your doctor before significantly changing your activity level. Walking is one of the gentlest forms of exercise available, and for most people, it is deeply safe. But your body is unique, and your health context matters. Pay attention to how you feel during and after walks. Some fatigue is normal and welcome. Sharp pain, dizziness, or significant breathlessness are signals to slow down and check in with a healthcare professional. Your body is not an obstacle. It is your partner, and it will always give you information if you learn to listen. For most people, the biggest shift isn't physical. It's mental. It's giving yourself permission to believe that calm and consistent is enough, that you don't need to suffer to make progress, that a quiet walk, done with awareness, done at the right pace, done after meals, done long enough for the fat-burning systems to fully engage, it is genuinely one of the most powerful metabolic tools available to the human body. Let's talk about what you might actually notice as you begin applying these 3 rules consistently. In the first week, the changes are mostly invisible. Your body is recalibrating. Your enzymes are starting to adapt. Your insulin sensitivity begins improving after just a few post-meal walks. You might feel slightly more energized. Your digestion may feel easier. These are quiet signs that the internal environment is shifting. By weeks 2 through 4, you may notice your waistband feeling slightly looser, not because you've lost dramatic amounts of weight, but because visceral fat, which is water-heavy and inflamed, responds quickly to consistent metabolic signals. It's the first fat your body actually gives up when given the right environment. By weeks 6 through 12, the changes become visible and measurable. Research consistently shows that 6 to 12 weeks of consistent moderate walking, especially when paired with post-meal walking and proper Zone 2 pacing, leads to statistically significant reductions in waist circumference and visceral fat volume as measured by MRI. Not because you punished your body, not because you ran it into exhaustion, but because you learned to work with it, slowly, steadily, in the language it understands best. Your belly fat isn't there because your body is failing. It's there because your body accumulated it during a period when it was doing its best with the signals it received. Change the signals, walk at the right pace at the right time for the right duration, and the body responds quietly, reliably, intelligently. That's not magic, that's just biology being exactly what it is: adaptive, cooperative, and always listening. So here's what I want to ask you now that you've heard all of this. What surprised you most? Was it the fat burning zone, the post meal walk science, the cortisol connection, or maybe the realization that your body has been waiting for you to simply slow down? Leave it in the comments. I genuinely want to know what landed for you. If this made you see your body in your next walk, in a different way, tap like. It helps more people find this kind of content. And subscribe if you enjoy calm science that most videos never quite get around to explaining. Because in the next video, we're going to explore something equally surprising. What happens inside your body during the first 20 minutes of sleep? And why that window quietly determines whether your body burns fat or stores it through the night. Until then, go for a walk, a calm one, after a meal if you can. And know that with every step, something intelligent and powerful is quietly happening inside you.